a pledge of support for local artists. A quest is on to make Barbados the most competitive tourist destination in the region, and major road repairs for St. Lucie coming soon.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening to you with the Friday, November 9th edition of the CBC Evening News. I'm Ryan Broom. In our top story, government has signaled its commitment to the arts, with Prime Minister Mia Motley pledging support for artists. The Prime Minister and Minister of Creative Economy, Culture and Sports, John King, were among the first to take in the arts exhibition, The Arrivants, Art and Migration in the Anglophone Caribbean World, at the Barbados Museum. Kishmar St. Jeest reports.
From the late 1940s to the early 1960s, thousands of men, women and children left Barbados and the Caribbean by sea and air for Britain. Their stories, contributions and even struggles are captured in the art exhibition, The Arrivants, Art and Migration in the Anglophone Caribbean World. The exhibition was organized to coincide with the International Museums Conference. Itinerant Identities, Museum Communities, Community Museums, co-hosted in Barbados by the University of the West Indies and the Museums Association of the Caribbean. Curators say the title is an acknowledgement of writer Kamal Brathwaite and his work, covering migration and the Caribbean diaspora.
The exhibition brings together 25 artists from Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana, Jamaica, Cayman, Montserrat, Bahamas, as well as the Caribbean diaspora. So we have artists primarily from London, but also from
based in the United States,
right.
Based in Scotland. Even ULOC is based in Scotland.
Right.
So also it shows the range of where people from the Caribbean have moved to. You know?
And I think one of the things that's been important here is not only to bring all of these artists together and address this theme, but also to look at the practice of exhibition making. So there have been a number of important exhibitions on Caribbean art over the last few years, virtually all of them originating in the United States. And so it was important to have an exhibition that started here.
Prime Minister Mia Motley says Barbados and the region have a story to tell.
We have now to show the rest of the world that it is possible for people of different backgrounds and different religions and different races and different perspectives to live in the same space. And if we thought it was an argument that was settled, you only need to look at the US elections this week. You only need to see what's happening with the isms and schisms across the rest of the world. You only need to look and see what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in Africa. We only need to see what's happening with people who are suffering the consequences of that inability to get on when you look at Yemen.
The Arrivants, Art and Migration in the Anglophone Caribbean World will be on show until the end of January 2019. Kishmar St. Jeest, CBC News.
Thanks, Kishmar. Well, meanwhile, Culture Minister John King is asking Barbadians to change their mindset regarding people in the arts. He was speaking during a stop at the Parkinson Memorial School as part of spreading awareness for tomorrow night's fundraising Soca Goes Gold 2 show and dance. Two of the headline acts, David Rudder and Winston Gypsy Peters, were also in attendance. Mr. King says there's really nothing called failure, and he used himself as an example.
Coming out of law school in 1980s, no one would have wanted you to be a musician. It was unheard of. In fact, I know from my own experience the amount of people who I went to school with and the amount of people who I knew who would suggest that I was totally stupid to not be what everybody else wanted to be. As a musician, as a calypsonian in Barbados, for me now to stand before you as a minister would have been totally unheard of, because our culture, unfortunately, looks at persons in the arts as being those persons who did not learn very well.
Meanwhile, veteran Trinidadian calypsonian Winston Gypsy Peters says calypso is part of who we are as a people in the region.
When we were brought here in captivity, this is what we had to do in order to survive. We had to sing calypsos And we had to sing it in a way that the powers that be would not understand, so we would make fun of them and have them laugh at themselves. And that is how Calypso really gained its popularity.
And it will be 45 minutes of pure energy and sweet music. That's what veteran Trinidadian calypsonian David Rudder, one of the headliners for the Soca Goes Gold 2 show and dance, is promising during his set. The fundraising event, which is organized by the Eden Lodge Charitable Trust, comes off tomorrow, November 10th at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Center. The proceeds will go towards funding the Trust's Christmas program. Mr. Rudder says he's happy to be involved and believes artists should play their part to support initiatives like this one.
Anything I can do to help, I am always willing, so this is a great opportunity. I missed the last year's one, so I'm looking forward to this one. Dwayne just contacted me and asked me if I would do it, and I said no, not a problem. I had a spare. This weekend was empty, so everything fell into place.
And Mr. Rudder says he's looking forward to performing for the Barbadian audience at tomorrow's show.
The last time I performed was 2 years ago, and it was dynamite as usual. Barbados is like my stomping ground, you know, and I look forward to seeing all my fans and friends on Saturday night.
In other news now, government will be taking a closer look at the process by which people are appointed to boards. Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn, says how directors are appointed is just as important as who gets appointed. Mr. Strawn also announced changes will be made to the Financial Management Audit Act. The act will now be extended to cover state-owned enterprises rather than just central government operations.
The government will require these agencies to provide annual reports 3 months after the close of the financial year. This should highlight the strategic priorities of entities and the outputs achieved with measurable indicators of performance.
Minister Strawn says a key provision of the draft law will be the introduction of fiscal responsibility principles, which will hold government accountable for fiscal policies it implements. Sanctions will also be introduced against public entities which rack up excessive debt or fail to supply financial statements. An audit committee is also to be established.
This concept, although not new to the private sector, will be relatively new to most state-owned enterprises, if not all. This committee will oversee the operations of internal auditors in government, which is a new feature to be introduced, and to ensure that their work is in accordance with international standards.
The Ministry of Tourism and International Transport is on a quest to make Barbados the most competitive and exciting destination in the Caribbean. Minister Kerry Simmons wants the island to stand out from other Caribbean islands. To achieve this, he says the island will have to venture into areas it has not gone before. Mr. Simmons was speaking to the Caribbean Tourism Organization at the ongoing World Travel Market in London.
It will also mean approaching markets in a way that we have not necessarily done before, but there's a lot of interest, and I'm confident at this stage that the figures are pointing in the right direction.
And Mr. Simmons, while acknowledging there's been some pushback to the newly introduced room rate levy and other measures, assured that visitors are value for money on the island.
It meant, therefore, that there had to be some innovation which people feel and see immediately on arriving at the Grantley Adams International Airport. And we've put a lot of emphasis in, which is going to be felt this winter, in terms of the efficiency of the throughput from the time you get off of that aircraft to the time you get into your taxi or wherever, to whatever form of vehicle to get out of the airport. And we want to reduce that period of time from what it used to be down by as much as 80% if that were possible. In addition to that, we felt that the experience in Barbados had to be refreshed.
Residents of St. Lucie can expect to see some improvement to their battered road infrastructure in just over a month's time. The announcement came as a high-powered team from the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance, headed by its Minister, Dr. William Duguid, and St. Lucie representative and minister in that ministry, Peter Phillips, toured the parish today. Some of the worst roads in areas such as Swampy Town, Chance Hall, Rock Hall, and Peters's were visited by the team, including Permanent Secretary Mark Cummins. Minister Duguid said while he was appalled at the state of the roads, calling many of them abandoned, and he's pledged the ministry will do all in its power with its limited resources to bring some relief to the residents.
We're going to endeavor to get as many of those roads fixed as quickly as we can. It isn't every place that's going to get a brand new road, but we can certainly relieve areas that may have mud and have no paving at all. And we're trying to use certain aspects of the mill stuff that we would have gotten, that we're going to get from this new IDB program, to be able to reposition our assets and get some people some better roads, so that all the people of St. Lucie can not only see the work that this new administration is doing, but also, more importantly, to be able to benefit from a little bit better roads.
Meanwhile, Minister Phillips stressed he will always do his best to look out for the well-being of the residents of St. Lucie.
I certainly intend to make sure that it is fixed on the behalf of the people of Peters's, and not just Peters's, but all those other areas that we've been to thus far and that we will be going to, because I believe that with this administration, we have said to people, you're not paying road taxes, we're charging a fuel tax, and so we have to show people where the money is going, and that is the important thing. Persons, they work, they pay their taxes and so on, and they have to get the requisite facilities to accommodate them, that they can feel relatively comfortable as they traverse.
Members of at least one professional body can count on that group's assistance as the country continues to experience economic challenges. President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Andrew Brathwaite, says government's economic recovery plan has already resulted in hundreds of job losses. As professional accountants and leaders of organizations, they recognize the need for change in the country long before many others did. The Institute is now prepared to lead by example and not only embrace those changes, but help others to do so.
We know that this is only the beginning, and there is more hardship and dissertation to come. But this is the bitter medicine that is necessary to set the patient on the road to recovery. A few years ago, Council approved the establishment of a benevolent fund that would be available to assist ICAB members who are in need. And perhaps now is an ideal time to agree on the funding model and the operational procedures and launch this fund.
And Mr. Brathwaite says the Institute welcomes the promised structural reforms seeking to increase the speed of doing business. He called on members to assist with the execution of initiatives designed to help return the country to economic prosperity.
There are a number of measures included in the work plan aimed at increasing oversight of state-owned entities and an action plan for public financial management reform. This will include enhanced monitoring and supervision of public entities, tighter and more precise reporting requirements, and sanctions for non-compliance. We expect that our members will be actively involved in and supporting these activities, and the Institute is available to assist in any capacity.
And Kathy Ann Hewitt will act as Executive Director of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados until further notice. This announcement from President Andrew Brathwaite. Ms. Hewitt joined ICAB's Secretariat in March 2017 as Assistant Director. Her selection comes more than 2 months after former Executive Director Reginald Farley was appointed to the post of High Commissioner to Canada.
The formal function to send Reggie off in fine ICAB style, but I would also take this opportunity to express our deepest gratitude to him for the service rendered to the Institute over the years. Not only has the size of our membership grown significantly during his tenure, but I am sure you will agree that the profile of the Institute, the strength and stability of our Secretariat, and the level of services we provide to members have all increased immeasurably, for which Reggie can take a great deal of the credit.
Meanwhile, Mr. Brathwaite also commended immediate past President Lisa Padmore, who has been appointed to the board of the International Federation of Accountants.
To be appointed to the board of a global organization comprising 175 members and associates in more than 130 countries and jurisdictions, representing almost 3 million accountants, is a significant accomplishment for Lisa, for Barbados, and for the Caribbean region. We fully anticipate that Lisa will make her usual robust contribution and play a significant role in the deliberations of the IFAC board.
U.S.-based packaged food company Conagra Brands is advising customers who purchase Duncan Hines cake mix of a voluntary product recall. If the box you purchased has a use-by date of between March 7th to March 13th, 2019, then you are asked to return the product to the store you originally purchased it from for a full refund. Conagra Brands is currently collaborating with U.S. health officials, Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, and Food and Drug Administration in connection with a positive finding of salmonella in a retail sample of Duncan Hines Classic White Cake Mix. While it has not been definitively concluded that this product is linked to an outbreak in the U.S. and the investigation is still ongoing, Conagra has decided to voluntarily recall the specific Duncan Hines variety identified, which is Classic White, Classic Butter Golden, Signature Confetti, and Classic Yellow. Again, the recall relates to all boxes of Duncan Hines cake mix with the best use-by date of March 7th, 2019 to March 13th, 2019. The Nation Publishing Company Limited has been hit by a sickout by several members of its editorial department for the second straight day. CBC News understands the sickout is mostly affecting news and sports. From all reports, the grievance surrounds remuneration in new contracts for reporters. Those reporters are being asked to sign new terms and conditions, which will now accommodate broadcast reporting and filing voice reports for VOB and The Nation. Sources say yesterday between 6 to 8 reporters called in sick, and today the situation was much worse. Sources add while reporters are being called on to do much more, no compensation for their efforts are contained in the new contracts. Another issue reportedly involves reporters' relations with a news editor. When CBC News contacted CEO of the Nation Publishing Company, Anthony Shaw, we were told he was out of office. And efforts to reach editor-in-chief of the Nation, Eric Smith, were also unsuccessful. Meanwhile, police are still trying to determine how a St. Michael man met his death last night. It was in an apparent shooting death in Mansion Road, Bank Hall, St. Michael. The lifeless body of Hayden Mears of Hines Road, Blackrock, was discovered by lawmen responding to reports of a shooting just after 10. His body was found about 15 feet from the vehicle which he used to sell bread. Lawmen are appealing to anyone who can provide information that can assist in the investigation to contact police emergency numbers at 211, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIPS, or any police station. In more crime-related news, police are investigating a burglary at the Cave Shepherd department store in Sunset Crest, St. James. During the wee hours of this morning, a number of items were taken from the Colombian Emerald International section of the store when it was broken into just before 4 a.m. The estimated value of the jewelry is unknown. When we arrived on the scene, workmen were busy trying to secure the business. Now, police are asking anyone who can provide any information that can assist in these investigations to call the police at emergency number 211, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIPS, or that's 8477, or any police station. The new president of the Small Business Association is encouraging Barbadians to take advantage of government's $10 million trust loan program. Wayne Willock is telling entrepreneurs the fund provides an opportunity for them to expand their endeavors. Under the trust loan program, entrepreneurs can access loans of up to $5,000 at a minimal interest rate of between 1.5 to 2%. Mr. Willock, who was speaking during the SBA graduation ceremony at Grand Salle, highlighted a few concerns which he says will directly affect small and medium enterprises going forward.
Why have controls been removed with regard to interest rates offered by commercial banks or the lack thereof? And those same banks continue to show increased profits while exploiting the hard-working citizens of this nation. How will the VAT on online purchases and shipping be monitored and applied to ensure that there's no duplication where persons have to pay at the buying point and then the collection point where the other duties will be added.
Meanwhile, Mr. Willock encouraged the graduates to embrace the graduation theme, maximizing the economic return on education.
With these new competencies in accounting, social media, marketing, human resources management, and public speaking, I would like to stimulate your thoughts towards more innovation and creativity in order to become aligned with economic trends, especially as they relate to e-commerce and advancing technologies as a whole.
Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Senator Dr. Rommel Springer, says SMEs play an integral role in Barbados, and despite this, he says, they have faced a number of challenges, including poor management, weak entrepreneurial skills, and a lack of resources to invest in training.
Research has shown that there are two major reasons for the failure of small and medium-sized enterprises in Barbados especially. And they are inadequate capital and a deficiency of appropriate human resource skills. A lack of appropriate training can therefore be a major barrier to the success of small and medium-sized enterprises, both at the technical and at the managerial level.
Some health news now. A study is to be conducted to determine if a new species of disease-carrying mosquito has made its way to the eastern and southern Caribbean. It's known as the Aedes albopictus, or Asian tiger mosquito. The study will be conducted by the Zika Ears Project. Senior Technical Advisor Camille White says the mosquito originated in Asia, but has since spread to the Americas. Like the more commonly known Aedes aegypti mosquito, it transmits dengue, chikungunya, Zika, and other viruses. In May this year, the species was positively identified in Jamaica. Ms. White says differences in reproduction patterns of the two mosquitoes will require researchers to expand the research area for potential breeding sites.
Where the Aedes aegypti breeds in freshwater, the Aedes albopictus is more of a tree bush type mosquito. So if it's in the Caribbean, we'll have to look at, and it also transmits Zika, chikungunya, and dengue. So now we'll have two types, not just house inspections to do. We'll have to look in a wider area for it.